Inflation remains a top concern among voters, but according to the White House Council of Economic Advisors, consumers are starting to see some relief at the grocery store. Joining us now is the chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, Jared Bernstein. Hey, Jared, how are you?
Hey, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you. The relief is coming from prices not rising as quickly, but the big price rises are already in for a lot of things. I saw a list the other day of things and just how much more that they do cost. So people still feel it if you're mid to lower and even higher income people. You do notice eggs, or you do notice meats and certain things that are more than they were. Obviously, it's progress that the prices aren't rising as much. I don't know if they ever go down to previous levels, though. Do you?
Well, so first of all, let's start by agreeing firmly on the point you just made. Look, prices are too high, and too many families are being squeezed by the cost of living. This is something the president talks about every time he leans into that, and that's why we're taking aggressive action to lower costs. And I'll talk about that in a second. We just released a new website at whitehouse.gov to go through all the areas in which we're trying to do that, and we're having some success in ways I'll explain in a moment. But there are some groceries that have come down. So if you look at the piece that you're talking about, which we posted on the CEA blog yesterday, there's about 15 items that we found where prices are actually coming down. So it's not just disinflation, which is really very significant in groceries. They were growing about 1% before the pandemic. They got up to double digits. They're back down to around 1% in terms of grocery inflation. But again, we've seen some deflation, some lower prices in that sector as well.
Jared, any progress there is good, but on the bigger issue, and I don't know whether you would concede that maybe spending can hurt inflation. It was obviously it was a post pandemic and supply chain, and I know the president likes to blame it on corporate greed, things like that. I don't know how that makes sense, because corporations for 40 years would have been raising prices if they could just willy-nilly. Right? But you know what I mean. The 40-year highs, it's more than just price gouging. But my question is about this, what we're spending, the deficit, which that was not a good number yesterday, Jared. I think you know that, up to nearly $2 trillion. Yeah. 7% of GDP. That's way too much. Why are we spending so much in a growing economy? Why is the deficit of 7%? It's never been run when the economy's in a boom period like that.
So let's unpack a lot of what you just said, because you started out with inflation and prices, and that's a key part of our focus right now, because, again, too many families are struggling with prices that are still too high. So we have to aggressively attack that. And I'll speak about that in a minute, and I'll get to the fiscal point. Very important. I disagree with part of the conversation you just had with the guy with the season pass.
Barry Knapp.
Barry Knapp, yeah. So the skier, right. So first of all, it's a mistake to look only at the inflation side of the ledger. Now, look, as you see, we look very carefully at that side of the ledger, and we've talked about prices, we've talked about lower inflation. You also have to look at wages and income. So wages are beating prices. For middle wage workers, wages have been beating prices for about 15 months in a row. If you actually look at disposable income, after-tax income, it's up $3,700 since before the pandemic. So let's be careful not to look at just one side of the ledger. Let's look at both. The fact that real wages and incomes are rising means people have more buying power. At the same time, we're cutting insurance premiums by $800 for nearly millions of Americans by lowering, I think about 15 or 16 million Americans by lowering the premium tax credit, capping prescription drug costs at $2,000 a year for 54 million seniors, and so on. Now, in terms of the fiscal outlook, the thing that I disagree with Barry is this idea that somehow cutting taxes doesn't have any fiscal impact. And I think you and I probably have disagreed on this, Joe, for a long time. It is not just some act of nature that when you cut taxes, you end up with less revenue. That's a failure of trickle down. And again, I know we've argued about this, and I doubt we're going to agree today. But I think the record is very strong on that. Now, when it comes to spending, yes, we're trying to cut spending, and we're being quite successful, particularly in the area of healthcare. All the things I just ticked through, allowing Medicare to bargain for lower prescription drug costs, that actually saves consumers and helps the budget. So that's a twofer.
Are you saying, Jared, that disposable income of inflation adjusted is above where it was before the president came in? Because I think it's still below, is it not?
I'm talking about if you look pre-pandemic, so I went from December 2019,
right, inflation adjusted.
December 2019 to now, inflation adjusted, disposable income up $3,700. We're about to release something that shows that number, so you'll see that in front of you pretty soon.
One of the points Barry was making was that the amount of revenue at 17.5% or 18%, whatever you want to get, that's been pretty consistent. Why do we keep adding to? And we had Elizabeth Warren on the other. She has no. When I ask her, would you commit any of the if you did have unrealized gains, a wealth tax, if you raise taxes on corporations, if you raise capital gains, would any of that be earmarked, for deficit reduction or debt reduction? And that didn't even cross her mind. We're willing to spend 24% of the GDP.
Let's talk about
year after year, but we never we used to spend 19 and get 17.5. Now we're getting 17.5 and spending 24. Why do we keep doing that? It's like the definition of insanity, knowing that it's wrong and we continue to do it.
Well, I actually agree with part of what you're saying there. When you're in a hole, stop digging. And that's why this president's budget reduces the deficit by $3 trillion over 10 years. So we have a very detailed plan written down to do exactly that. Now, if you look at what the opposition wants to do, it looks to us like just the opposite. Dig that hole deeper by fully extending the tax cuts that expire at the end of next year. The president's talked about extending those for families below $400,000 because it's a pledge not to raise taxes on them, but allowing those tax cuts to expire above $400,000 so that the wealthy and rich corporations pay their fair share. Now, that is deficit reducing, whereas a full extension would obviously go the other way. Now, look, the other thing we have to do, you're right, we have to hit both sides of the equation. When you cap prescription drug costs at $2,000 a year, not only are you helping 54 million seniors and lots of other Medicare beneficiaries, but you're saving hundreds of billions on the budget. So that is a really effective way to both cut spending, help the budget, and along with that, the president's fair tax agenda, which, by the way, there's another piece of that which kind of gets under my skin. But Republicans have consistently cut funding to the IRS. This is a shadow tax cut for tax evaders, and it's a way to lose hundreds of billions by allowing millionaires and billionaires to evade taxes. It's not okay with this president. It shouldn't be okay with anyone who pays their fair share.